Hello again. Welcome to the Taming the FamilySearch Goliath class series. Today we're entering Class 5, which is about fear-free merging of people and families that are duplicates in FamilySearch. Class 4, our previous class, covered adding a cameo portrait to a person page, adding a group portrait and linking it to multiple person pages, and adding a story or life sketch to a person page. If you missed that one, you might want to go back and catch it if those topics are of interest to you. In today's class, we're going to learn that data entry standards actually help us avoid creating duplicate people. We're going to see how the merge screen works. We're going to practice merging duplicate people and families using a step-by-step guide that is one of the handouts for this class. And we're going to discover options to finding possibly duplicate people. In other words, different ways to find possibly duplicate people. I promised you this was going to be a fear-free guide to merging. And I want to start right out by giving you some opportunities to dispel any misconceptions you may have about this topic. First, you can reverse an incorrect merge if you simply take the time to look at it immediately after it happens and evaluate it before making any changes. We're going to talk about how to reverse an incorrect merge, and I'll show you that. We can evaluate our level of confidence before completing a merge. We can explain our reasoning to others and let them help us decide. And we can invite others to review the two possible duplicates and either help us decide or make the decision themselves based on the sources that they have. Lots of people say they don't have time to merge duplicate people. And I would like to offer you a different perspective, which is that if it helps to prevent duplicated family ordinances, it's well worth your time to merge duplicate people. And there's no point in searching for records that someone else has already found for your ancestor, which you will discover when you merge two people. It lets us benefit from what other people have already learned about the ancestors that we share, and it helps Family Tree to function as it is intended. Family Tree is actually set up so that each person is intended to only be in the database once, and helping to ensure that that is true will make Family Tree not only more effective to use but less frustrating for folks who are trying to put their families in. One important point to learn about merging is that when you find one merge, you very often find other merges that are related to it. And that's because the longer that duplicate person exists in the database, the more people are likely to attach their families to it and create even more duplicate ancestors that we also have to merge before we're finished. So coming back to the theory of, do I have time to do this? The sooner that possible merge is discovered and completed, the fewer merges we will actually have to complete to pull these duplicate people back into their main line. Not only do we have his parents, but we've got a whole other group of folks that are attached to that person. I would like to emphasize in this class simply that our care in entering data correctly according to Family Tree's data entry standards and what they call standardizing that information. And is it very important to help Family Tree discover possible duplicate people who are already in the database for us. And so on this slide I'm providing a very quick summary of the most important facts about entering data correctly in Family Tree according to their rules. And I also encourage you to make sure that if you have information from sources, that you are entering those sources so the rest of us can see them, because that will help us know that your information may be more valid than our own. If you want to learn more about this process of entering data correctly, please return to our Class 3, where we go into that in a great deal of detail for you. All right. We're going to talk briefly about how you discover possible duplicate people in Family Tree. I was talking to an experienced researcher recently who said, well, I don't know what the fuss is about duplicate people. I hardly ever discover any. And I immediately thought, wow, your family must be a lot cleaner than mine, because we discover duplicates almost every time we enter a new family in Family Tree. Perhaps that person just hasn't learned some of the variety of ways in which you can discover duplicate people in Family Tree. We're going to talk about a couple of the easy ones, and then we're going to gradually move into more sophisticated ways to find duplicate people. We can often find duplicate children, spouses, or parents as they are already displayed on a person page. For example, in one man's family, there may be 2 children who appear to be duplicates, and we'll want to check that out before we assume that they're not. We would check each person's person page as well. And what I mean by that is, not only do we check each of the parents' pages by going to the Tools box and clicking on possible duplicates, but we also check each child's person page by going to possible duplicates individually. Many times I've discovered that after entering a large family and being assured by FamilySearch at each step that there are no duplicates of that family in the tree, when I get to the youngest children in the family, FamilySearch all of a sudden discovers duplicate people in the tree. And that's because FamilySearch gets smarter the more it knows about this family. It begins to search for the whole family unit and for children that are in common between 2 families in order to find possibly duplicate people. We ask Family Tree to search for possible duplicates by going to the Tools box and clicking on possible duplicates in summary. That's one way to find them. That's the most common way to find them. It's not the most effective way to find them, in my opinion. We can start with a possible merge and see a list of other possible duplicate people that FamilySearch, or what I should be calling Family Tree, has also discovered for us. In other words, it will show us a list of possible duplicates, not just the one that we were expecting to see. In that case, we simply review them all one at a time, merging each one individually or choosing not to merge them as the case may be until we have completed the list. Until we have resolved all of these duplicate people, FamilySearch will not permit us to reserve family ordinances for the obvious reason that the ordinances may have been completed already and there's no point in repeating them. We can be notified of possible duplicate people while we're adding a record. We can be notified of possible duplicates while we're reserving family ordinances. Sometimes when we use the find function to go to a person page, we simply note possible duplicates nearby on the list. And in that case, I always jot down those possible duplicates and come back and review them as under the Tools box. Many times FamilySearch will not bring them to my attention. I needed to be able to find them from that find list and enter the person IDs myself one by one in order to dispense with possible duplicates. And once again, reiterating what we said on the previous couple of slides, when you've found one duplicate, check that person's spouses, parents, and each child individually for duplicates, because one duplicate almost always generates more. Another way to discover possible duplicates is through the traditional pedigree chart. Have you noticed that when you look at the big pedigree chart, which is all gray across the whole page and has little boxes for each of your family members, starting with you over here and getting further back with each generation, that there is this little mark like this, a little down arrow beside some of the people's names? That little mark tells you, if you click on it, that there is a possible duplicate that FamilySearch has discovered and is inviting you to review. And if there is a little mark Over here on the left of the couple, that is going to clue you that there is a chance that there are duplicate parents for that relationship. If you click on the little arrow, oops, I shouldn't have done that. If you click on the little arrow, it's going to give you those people as well. So this traditional pedigree chart is actually a very useful tool if you just pay attention to those little down arrows and left arrows. I don't use those enough myself. I should be paying more attention to those. There is another wonderful resource that I want to recommend to you, which is called findarecord.com. I've just recently been introduced to it myself, and I'm already just finding it an indispensable tool. This is an overview of the steps that you take. It'll be a lot easier if I just show you. So I'm going to assume that you'll hold on to these notes while I go to find a record myself, and we'll take a look at it. That's not find a record, is it? This is find a record. I went to www.findarecord.com, which is written on the top of that step-by-step guide I gave you. The first thing to do is to click on this orange box and sign in with FamilySearch. This application software is approved by FamilySearch. That's what this certified symbol means. And it will actually read data directly from FamilySearch and provide you with the kinds of information you want to help you focus on families that need your help. So let's click in. Let's sign in. I'm going to put my username and password. Oops. Well, got my hands on the wrong keys, which is certainly not helpful. Don't suppose that ever happens to the rest of you. And sign in. Notice that I'm returned directly to find a record then. And I have an opportunity to look at all kinds of different problems or challenges or needs in my family groups. And first thing I want to do is tell it how far out on my family tree I want to work. So I come here to the who do you want to find question. Everybody look at this for me, please, if they haven't. Right here, who do you want to find? I'll use this down arrow to show you the alternatives I have. I can search only for my ancestors, only for my descendants, which would of course be my deceased descendants, or for ancestors and descendants, or for cousins, which means not only ancestors and descendants, but their brothers and sisters, essentially. And I almost always go with cousins. That's the one I've found is the most helpful. You can decide how many generations back you want to do at a time. When you first start this, if you discover that if you say 2 generations, you already have a lot of work to do, that might be a good place to go. I've worked on this myself, so I'm going to leave it at 4 generations, which takes me back 80 years. But you can actually go a long ways back further than that. Just remember, there's no point in working further back than your records are taking you, because nobody knows for sure what's true after that. So I'm going to say, how many generations? 4 generations. Okay, what do I want to do today? Today in our class we're focusing on merging people. So what I want to do is have this little software program help me find duplicate people. And duplicate people are under problems. So there's no point in seeing all these other things here. I'm going to unclick these boxes. See what I'm doing here? Besides sources, I'm unclicking. Beside person, I'm unclicking. Beside relationships. Besides cleanup, and beside ordinances. So all I have clicked is problems. Now I've got this little arrow over here to the right of the word problems. And if I click that, I get an opportunity to further specialize what I want to look for. Am I looking for people who were born before their parents? No, not right now. All I want to see is people who are duplicates. Child born before marriage? No. Child too close to another child? No. Person died before they were born? Well, that's something I should do another day, but that's not what I'm going to do today. How about marriage after death? No. I just want to see possible duplicates. Okay. Now I must admit I cheated because I was so intrigued by this yesterday that I spent some time on it. But what I want to show you is, this is my cousin, Janine Denise Bjorklund. And if I want to go to her person page and check this possible duplicate person out, I just click on her ID number one time. Takes just a minute to load. Can be faster if you have a little faster connection. This is Janine, my cousin. And in order to find this duplicate person that this database is telling me perhaps exists, I need to come to our Tools box and click Possible Duplicates. Here is the lady that I've got in my tree right now with her information that's convenient for me to compare with what the database is finding here. Here is a new person named Janine Denise what? If I hover on that, it gives me more detail. Her last name is Bjorklund. This is her birth and death information, which certainly appears to match what I've got here. She could very well be a duplicate. I don't know that yet, but I'm going to review the possible merge and see where we go from there. So here's our first opportunity to see the merge screen. I want you to see this once, and then we're going to go back to our slides and review the actual merge screen just from a conceptual perspective instead of in all this detail. Notice that on the left-hand side is the person I'm probably going to keep. She's the one who's in my tree now. And on the right-hand side is the person who's going to be deleted at the end of the merge process. Literally deleted. That doesn't mean that you can't get her back, but it does mean that nobody can see her without coming to my page. And that means, of course, that if this is the one who's got lots and lots of kids and family members, and this one has very few, it's going to make a lot more sense for me to switch the position of the person here over to the left-hand side, so she's the one I keep, and I just add the little details I can to improve that record. In this case, I believe that my record of Janine is probably pretty thorough, and so I'm going to review what I need to take from the possible duplicate. We start with vital information. We knew her birth name, which is correct. Actually, I'll have to check to verify that spelling. I'm not going to assume that 2 N's is correct. I don't think it is. 26 January 1955, yes. 30 June 2010. Okay. I'm not going to reject or replace any of these. If I did replace it, all that would happen is I would replace it, and then I could say, yep, I like that, or no, I don't, I'm going to take it back. And nothing happens. I'm right back where I was before. I haven't affected anything. Let's see if there are any other relatives here. Oh, we could put in an alternate name with 2 N's. That might not be a bad idea. And look, the whole rest of that thing is just gray area, so there's nothing for me to take over at all. It doesn't have parents or spouses or kids or anything. I'm going to continue this merge and merge those 2 people. You can say duplicate women, which is what Family Tree teaches they would like us to do. Lots of people have a little trouble spelling that, and about the 36th time you type it, you get a little tired of it. You might say same woman, which is easier for some people to type. Feel free to put more detail in here. If it's for example, if it's a name that is common, and you want to help other researchers understand your logic for making that merge, you might say same woman with same husband and 3 duplicate children born at on the same dates and times. So you can be as specific in this cell as you want to, or you can simply say same woman or same man, but you must say something there, because other people are going to come back to this and say, what happened to my person? And when they see it pulled into yours, they're going to want to know your justification for merging. So I'll finish this merge by clicking the blue button. And that's all there was to it. She no longer exists as a duplicate. Now there's only one of Janine. Notice that up here at the top, I've got my FamilySearch file folder label, and I've got my Find a Record file folder label. To move back to Find a Record, all I would do is click here, and I'm right back where I was. Except that now I'm going to say I've fixed that one, take it off my list. Pretty slick, huh? This is a fun thing to do when all you want to do is focus on one specific type of situation in your family tree. So let's go back to our PowerPoint now. Gotta go back from current slide. There we go. Okay. The process that we've just followed is what I have listed for you step by step here. I realize this is a really ugly slide because it's too packed, but I didn't want to attempt to make it graphically beautiful for you. I just wanted to give you the essential information you needed to be able to use Find a Record. I think those of you who try it will be very impressed with it. It does have the ability to find duplicates that Family Tree does not automatically recognize. Remember at the beginning of this class I mentioned that it's possible to determine how confident you need to be that a merge is correct before you make the decision to merge. If it's just a record, if the duplicate is actually just a record extraction awaiting connection to the family tree, you really only need a certain amount of confidence, because the worst that can happen is it's not your record and you later disconnect it. If you found a person whose parents are unknown, and this could happen, actually did happen to me just yesterday. We have a woman in our family tree, and we had the name of her husband, but we had very little information about him. Someone had much more information about that man and very little information about his wife. So they know about the man and we know about the woman. We needed about a 60% confidence level to merge those two people because they didn't have any kids. We're not affecting anyone but those two people. The worst that could happen is we would later disconnect them. And then you have the situation where you're not just merging a person, you're merging a person who has a spouse and children and possibly parents, and that's the time when you need to be pretty darn confident before you actually make the merge. I say you need a 75% confidence level to make the merge. What you're looking for is more than just the same name, or the same name and a couple of kids with the same names, especially if they're fairly common names. You're looking for multiple names, and you're looking for the same places and the same dates. So those are the ones where you need to stand back just a little bit, take your time, decide, do I really want to merge these people, or would it be better if I take an alternative step? Let me show you some of those alternative steps in just a minute. Okay, we looked at the merge screen for the first time together just a couple of minutes ago. I just want to stand back now and help you become more familiar with how this darn thing works. It looks a little bit intimidating when you see it in Family Tree because it's long and because there's a lot of information on it, but what they're really doing is simply giving you two columns. One is the person we'll keep, which we call the primary person, and one is the person who goes away, which is the duplicate person. For each of those two people, there are the following types of information. What they call vital information, which is where they were born and where they died. Spouses and marriages. Each spouse and each marriage that's listed in the family page for that individual is listed here. Any children that they know about and the parents of that person are listed here. And then they do the very same thing for the duplicate person. And the question is there information for the vital information section in any particular, for example, the birth information or the confirmation information or the death information, of higher quality than what I have? And if they have the same spouse and they have a marriage, and I just have a spouse without a marriage or with an estimated marriage date, then if that's the same spouse, I should pull this over because it's going to give me the marriage information too. Down at the bottom of the page, notice that this is where you have your choices to merging. You can say, yes, I want to continue this merge. No, it's not a match, which doesn't prevent someone else later from merging these two possible duplicates, but does tell them why you thought at the time you reviewed it that they might not be a match. And you also have the magic button called cancel. I can't find it with my cursor. Darn it, there it is. At my home, I have a place for my cursor, but that's about 3 inches by 3 inches square on my desk. And having a big area like this one is just too much for me. It gets away from me. It's like it's got a mind of its own. This little cancel button permits you to just walk away without taking any action at all, which probably is not always to your best advantage, but could be in a situation where you want to go to that person's page and look more closely at the information that they have before making a decision. Okay. So that's essentially an overview of the merge screen. And the point that I would like to especially leave you with is that during the merge process, it's very important that we pull all of the people to the left-hand side before we actually merge, excuse me. Before the merge is completed, all spouses, children, and parents must be moved to the left column unless they're already there with the same ID number. Let's say that this person has a child named John. And that John has an ID number. Over here we find a child named John who has a different ID number. That's actually a duplicate of John. We need to pull it over because we're going to then merge those two Johns to create one child. But if they start with two Johns that have the same ID number, we don't have to pull the second one over. Although doing so would not actually cause a problem, it just is an unnecessary step. I call this the relative roundup. It's kind of a funny little thing I do. But it's basically the point that you need to pull all the parents, children, and spouses into the left-hand column before you press merge, or all those extra people are floating around in the database waiting for you to find later. Okay. Hooray. We have now gotten through the basics, and now I want to actually show you step by step how finding and merging duplicate people works in practice. Let's go, not to find a record, let's go here. I wonder why this is not displaying the way I expect it to. Maybe it's because it's too large. Yep, that's what it was. Sign in. Obviously, to save time, I needed to bring you some examples, and that's what I've done. The examples are specifically chosen to demonstrate points that I'd like to make. So let me quickly take the time to put in my username and password. If you ever see somebody who's messed in your tree named Three Rivers Gal, it's me, you know who to yell at. Right. Okay. Let's find out if find is working today. Sure would be nice if it was. Find by ID. Ha ha. We're in business. L4, F4, JL. Lizzie Warren has a duplicate person. And I'm going to go to her person page. And just as we had talked about before, I'm going to go to possible duplicates. And they've immediately discovered a possible duplicate whose name is Lizzie Warren, who's married to George Lyle. That's all I get. Lyle. George Lyle Hicks. Possible. Okay. Review the merge. Here's our merge screen. I'm just going to scroll down it so you can see what's in it. I often do that when I look at a merge. I start just by taking a minute to scroll down it See how much information is in the possible duplicate person, because this is where you discover if this is just a record or if it's a simple individual or what the deal is on this possible duplicate. What have we got here? We've got the woman, we've got her husband who matches our husband, and we've got her son. Notice he's got the very same ID number that the person who's already in our tree does. That means that he is really already just one person. There's no reason for me to slide this over here because, number one, they're lined up straight across from each other, which immediately tells me, number two, that they're already duplicate people. I mean, they are a single person. There is not a duplicate person involved here. Same thing is true here, except that if I pull this one over, I want you to watch this side for me while I do that. Did you see how I lost the marriage? Whoa, that's not a good thing. Let's pull that back and get that marriage back. So my point is, in this merge, I don't actually have to pull anything to the left. I just continue the merge. What am I going to say? Same woman with same husband and same son. Finish the merge. Let's go to another one. Find. Oh, did you notice that in Find, the second time you use it, you can't just do this and start typing and that goes away. You actually have to press reset. I think it's a wonderful tool, but it's so different than what you're used to seeing in other software programs that it can be a little bit daunting at first. So I just wanted to point it out. Okay, so LR7FSKW. Find. I'm looking for Wallace. Yep, I found him. I hope I'm not catching a cold. Okay, here's Wallace. And just for the heck of it, let's notice up here he's got a green button for his ordinances, which means, whoopee, I found somebody who doesn't have their ordinances yet. I might be able to do them. But since I've already discovered that there's a duplicate, I'll just take the moment to check possible duplicates. Another possibility, let me show you another thing that possibly could work. Let's try this. Let's request those ordinances. FamilySearch is checking for duplicate people before it authorizes me to reserve these ordinances. See if it's going to find this duplicate or not. Feels like a long time to wait until you realize that it's probably searching 100 million records. Did you see this yellow box right here? That tells me that I don't want to reserve these ordinances yet. I want to go back to his person page and check for duplicates. Let's do that. Let's go to our tools box and go to possible duplicates. See if it finds this one. Wallace Updike M32, that's the one I'm looking for. Review the merge. Okay, we're going to quickly skim down the screen. And we're going to come back and say, what do I want to keep? They're saying that he was born in Kansas. It's possible. I thought he was born in Ohio on the basis of his census records, probably. Oh, but notice that magic word of. Haha. The magic word of usually means that when they were married, he wrote that he lived in Almena, Norton, Kansas. That is not the same as saying he was born there, is it? At the time of his marriage, he was of Almena, Norton, Kansas. I don't want to carry that over if I've got reason to believe that Ohio is more correct, so I'm not going to. Notice how they're lined up straight across from each other. Jane is straight across from Jane. That means I don't have to take anything over here. These people are already the same people. I'm just going to continue the merge. Same man. Finish the merge. Okay, now I'm ready to reserve my ordinances. Let's request the ordinances. And it says, yes, indeed, I can now go ahead and reserve these ordinances. Before I could not, because I had not yet merged those two people. I'm not actually going to do that today. Let's go to another one. These are two people who are already on a person page together. I just want you to see what that looks like. Most of you will be familiar with this, but for anyone who is a little newer to the process, I want to show you something that can be helpful. We'll go to this lady's page, to her person page. Oh, I'm still on the Temple Ordinances view. I just need to go over to details in her person page to see her vital information and family relationships. And this is the problem. It's not that she is in there twice, she's not. But she's got two husbands who might be duplicates. In fact, they were both married in February 1867, so the chances are they are duplicates. She hadn't been married twice, she'd been married once, but we've got her in there with two different husbands, close with similar names. Now, because this man is called William Henry Millard, and this man is just known to whoever put him in here as Henry Millard, FamilySearch will not discover that duplicate for me. I am discovering that duplicate from the way it's displayed on the page. If I start with this lady and ask for possible duplicates, I'm not going to find any because there are no duplicates of her. It's this guy who's got a duplicate. And this is the possible duplicate. I'm going to prepare to copy and paste this person ID number because there's a very good chance that when I look for duplicates of this man, FamilySearch is not going to find the one I know exists. An alternative to preparing to copy and paste this would just be to write the number down, but you need that ID number. Now we're going into the man's page who has a possible duplicate. We're going to click there and go to his person page. He's the one who has a possible duplicate, not his wife. Notice we don't see the possible duplicate now. We're on his page. Let's go to possible duplicates over here in the tools box. Oh my gosh, it did find that Henry Millard. I'm pretty impressed. And it found another possible duplicate. Remember we said if it finds more duplicates than we knew about, we're going to review them one at a time? That's exactly what we would do. We would start with this one. And be prepared for the possibility when you do that, that you're going to have more duplicates when you get through because there's a possibility that his parents are duplicated as well. We don't have to take that. Oh, we found out about Minnie and Millard. Minnie is probably the nickname for Mildred since they were both born in 1869. They do not have the same ID number. They are therefore not the same person yet. We will eventually want to make them the same person. All I needed to do was take that duplicate child over and I can continue the merge. Finish the merge. See how I've now got one wife, one husband, two daughters, and there is another possible duplicate waiting for me for William Henry Millard. Remember that one? You always want to make a mental note to yourself. I've got two to deal with, not just one. Let's deal with this one as well. Scroll down the page to say what we're looking at. Oh, this has a spouse, Sarah M. Dennison. Is that the same lady? Yeah, sure is. Sarah M. Dennison. See, this is a duplicate of Sarah M. Dennison that we had not previously discovered and have now found. So I'm going to add her to the first guy's person page. Make sure I haven't missed anything else. I guess I don't need to take over white. Okay. It's always a good idea to go back just one more time and make sure you didn't miss anything. Duplicate. Yeah. Okay, now our William is going to have 2 wives who need to be merged, and he's got duplicate children. See how you merge one person and you find more that need to be merged? That's what I was talking about earlier. And I'll come back to that later and clean that up. I wanted to show you what it looks like when you find a marriage record that comes to you as a duplicate person. Find. For Nora E. Perkins, I already know that we have a duplicate. In earlier times, the indexers in FamilySearch didn't have as sophisticated a method to add records that they were reviewing to Family Tree as we have now. And sometimes they just added marriages directly in what's now Family Tree without attempting to connect them to the people that were already in the tree. So it's like those records are floating around in the database waiting for someone to adopt them, and we might have found one that's ours. Miss Nora E. Perkins, female, born in Iowa, deceased, white. Here's her marriage record to John O. Carlson. Do we have a husband named John O. Carlson? We sure do. John Oscar Carlson. Well, in his marriage record, it was John O. Carlson, and so no one has discovered yet that that's a duplicate person. We'll add that record to their person page. And instead of saying, whoops, I do need to click this. Instead of saying duplicate women, I'll say adding marriage record. Because that's all I'm doing. It's not a duplicate person. It's a marriage record being added to this person. And come on, sweetheart. In the process of doing that, I've now got a duplicate husband for her, because this is the way the name was entered in the original index of that marriage record, and this is the way it needs to be when I'm through. So I would merge this man into this man, and then Nora would just have one husband and would have a marriage record attached to her data. Could we see a situation where there is insufficient information to conclude that a merge should be completed? Let's take a look at this one. I was not convinced by this one. Let's see what you think. K4XQPJL. Jane P. Mitchell. Notice, please, that she was born in Illinois. Go to person page. Look for a possible duplicate. Yeah, that's the one I want to see. It ends with M2J. Yep. Review, merge. Okay. Now let's look at these two people side by side and decide what we think, whether or not we think that they should be merged. Notice that this is an estimated birth year. Of course, it's a whole decade long. And they are saying that she was born in Ohio rather than Illinois. That alone would not stop us necessarily, but it's also not good enough information for us to conclude that it's right. Did she have a husband named William Anderson? Well, her husband was named John William Anderson, which is close enough for FamilySearch to conclude that there's a possibility it's our guy. Once again, if I click on his name, I can see that all they know is he was born in Ohio in 1860. If I click outside of that, that box goes away. Now, they have a son named Fred, who was born in 1889. Where? In Ohio. Okay, I'm going to click outside this to make that box go away. 1889, Ohio. Could these people have had a son in 1889 in Ohio? They have a daughter named Laura who was born in 1889 in either Iowa or South Dakota, which is not Ohio. I might have guessed that perhaps she wasn't really born in 1889. She was born one side or the other of that, and this kid could be squeezed in. But we've got a real birth date here. This is not an estimate, is it? So if that information about Fred is correct, and he was born in 1889, he would have to fit somewhere in here between Lewis and Laura, and he would still have been born in Ohio. That's our new problem. Where was Lewis born? Lewis was born in Iowa. Laura was born in Iowa or South Dakota. Beulah was born in Iowa. No Ohio in there. Therefore, I am not going to merge those two people, and I'm going to tell people why I didn't. I'm going to say, son Fred Anderson, born 1889, Ohio, cannot be fit into this family with the data we presently possess. So that if somebody else goes to merge these two people, they will at least see my warning and be prompted to look a little more closely than they might have if all they did was look at the similarity between the wives' names and the husbands' names. And so I'm going to say not a match. And once again, that does not really accomplish anything except to warn another researcher, number one, and number two, to permit me to go ahead and do the temple ordinances for this lady without worrying about that possible duplicate. There is another way to find possible duplicates that we haven't yet discussed. Let's go to a certain person. I want to go to the man I've already discovered because that might be faster. LL4X7CS. Find. And although it's going to take us to his person page, that's not where I want to go. I can also do this from his person card, but often I'm on the person page before it occurs to me that I'd like to go to the descendancy chart. Notice that I can go here to start the tree with myself, the traditional descendancy tree. Or I can start from his page and make him the focus person of the tree. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll show you what that means. I'm going to click over here because this is what you'd normally see. Remember this one? Okay, only notice that it's starting with him instead of me, so I don't have to go searching somewhere out on the tree to find this guy. Now I have some options. I'm looking at the traditional landscape perspective of the ancestral tree. I can look at it this way or as a fan chart, or this one, which is what I want to show you, descendancy chart. Now if I start looking down here and see that he has a wife and two children, a boy and a girl, and I say, hot dog, I've got green letters here, that possibly means that I can reserve these ordinances. Takes a minute. Be aware that when your computer has a little bit faster server than we have here at this particular location, it will locate this quickly. And also be aware that you can expand this upward so that once you have finished with the family, you can continue on with his ancestors all the way up, showing spouses and children at your option. I hope this is going to do it. This is actually telling me that I can go ahead and reserve these people. Wonder if I have already merged that duplicate because I found one. If I click on her name, I can go to a person page. Can look at ordinances from her person page. and request the ordinances. Nope. Either I or someone else has already discovered that duplicate and has fixed it, or I wouldn't be looking at the opportunity to reserve those for myself now. So I just wanted to point out to you that if you click here and go to View Tree and go to Descendancy Chart, it will allow you to skip down through a family rather quickly and see any people whose work needs to be done. And when you click their temple icon, if there are duplicates, that's a way to find them. Now here's an interesting situation that is pretty uncommon. I actually added a marriage record to this person, and in the process of doing it was discovering a duplicate. I want to show you how that works. KBR2SX. Go to the person page. I'm on the ordinance page, so I'm going back to her vital records page by the details tab. And notice right here it's giving me a record hint for Mildred M. Millard, who is being indicated or being noted in a marriage record. Let's click on that. We actually want to review that record. Oh, see these little black these little black triangles right here? They're always messages that you need to learn, you need to know about. Look at this one right here, excuse me. This one is telling me that Mildred Millard, whose ID number ends QSX, has a duplicate in FamilySearch, and that this record has already been attached to that duplicate person. It's one of the handiest ways FamilySearch has come up with to discover duplicate people it doesn't otherwise recognize. So what I would do is write down the ID number of that duplicate person. Notice that Henry also has a duplicate person, and her mother Sarah also has a duplicate person. Let's see if there are any other kids here. This one doesn't have a message like that, so apparently that's the only time he occurs. But this is one of the most effective ways they've come up with to help us discover duplicate people. So let's say, all right, I want to go to Mildred M. Millard, and I want to write down, yep, okay, I've written down the ID number of this person. I'm going to go to her person page. Go to person. Check for duplicates. XBK, there she is. Review the merge. Spring Lake, Michigan. Same husband, same marriage. Duplicate parents with abbreviated names. The person who has created this duplicate person doesn't know as much about the parents as we do, apparently. Why do I need to add those over here? Because they have different ID numbers from the people I already have in my tree. And I'm going to need to pull all the relatives to the left before I merge these two families. Add. Continue the merge. Duplicate. When I get here, I'm going to discover that now this recently merged woman has two sets of parents. They're the very same people, but I need to merge the husbands and I need to merge the wives. Let's say that after looking at this, I discovered, I wish I hadn't done that. Let's show you how to unmerge while we have this opportunity. See this box over here we all tend to ignore that's called latest changes? Click show all. This information is summarized on page 2 of your handout, which is unmerging duplicate people in family tree. That second page looks a little bit complicated because there are two ways that FamilySearch actually displays this information, one of which has this swell unmerge button and the other one which does not. I have no idea why it happens different ways. Since this is the easiest way, let's just simply unclick them and say, for demo purpose, I am unmerging these two women. Unmerge. Go to Mildred and Millard. There she is. She's only got one husband. She's only got 2 sets of parents. She's right back where she was before I did it. You can only unmerge immediately after you complete the merge. Once you start playing around with other duplicates, you've lost the opportunity to unmerge, and you have to go about it in a more in a different manner. That's not especially difficult, but is more time consuming. So I highly recommend that as soon as you complete a merge, you always look at the resulting family and say, does this make sense? Do they now have 17 kids who were born in New Jersey and California? That probably isn't right. Stop and think hard about it before you say, yep, I'm going to proceed with this. I think it's right. If not, unmerge them while you've got the chance. Go back and look at them again. Don't hesitate to merge them if your conclusions still confirm that they're the same family, but you might just want to take a minute longer than you did the first time around. Okay. So what we've covered in class number 5 is that family trees data entry standards help us to avoid creating duplicate people, creating new duplicate people. They don't help us eliminate duplicate people who were already there. Merging helps us do that. And it also helps us avoid duplicating family ordinances, which, as you know, are time-consuming. We learned that findarecord.com is a very helpful tool to discover duplicate people, and that there are other ways to find duplicate people, including descendancy view, for example, that are very useful. Excuse me. In the merge screen, we know that we need to slide all new facts and people over to the right-hand column. People are new if they have a different ID number. We have options to merging and can even unmerge if we immediately realize we've made an error. Okay, for your homework assignment from this class, before you begin class 6, I urge you to discover and merge at least 3 duplicate people in family tree. Practice finding possible duplicates using findarecord.com if you wish. After merging 2 duplicate people, immediately unmerge them so you understand the process. Coming in class 6, convince us you're right with source records. Discourage others from changing your data by backing it up with source records. We'll learn how to find and attach records, how to add a record we possess, and how to use our source box. Won't you please join us? The Taming the FamilySearch Goliath class series is intended to help you learn to use FamilySearch Family Tree with confidence and skill. You can download the classes and all class handouts from this website, where they will be posted for a significant period of time. This series of 9 classes was presented before a live audience and recorded between November 3rd, 2016 and January 26, 2017 by West Richland State, Washington, of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mike Goodmanson is the event coordinator. Here is his phone number. We offer special thanks to the Richland Family History Center of Washington for their generous support and use of classroom facilities. We look forward to seeing you in our next class. Thank you.